Well, it's time for World Cup finalized predictions. Aha. So here we are. Well, there's a few things I want to say. Predictions involve a mix of logic, emotion, accounting for expecting the unexpected. Because when it comes to the World Cup, you can't always logically predict things. And sometimes you can be guilty of not putting enough logic into predictions that you think that, well, too many surprises will happen. So there's a lot of things to take into account here. This is a World Cup on European soil. Usually World Cups on European soil don't produce that many upsets. Having said that, I don't think it's going to be like a World Cup 2006, where the only surprises really were Ghana and the Ukraine that got to the quarterfinals. Ghana got to the round of 16. I think that football has become more evolved in the last, especially in the last decade, but especially the 21st century. So, on average, we see about 9 or 10 European countries take part in the last 16. And in the last 2 World Cups, we only had 6 that were held outside of European soil. I don't think it's going to be 9 or 10 this time, but I think it will be higher than 6. The ballpark for what I'm aiming for is around 7 or 8 European teams. About half of them will consist of the round of 16. Yeah. So let's jump right in. And I'm actually going to be narrowing down the predictions here as we go because I still don't have my mind made up on several of these groups. So I'm going to be doing a narrow elimination process in real time that you'll be watching. Some groups I have more conclusive thoughts about. Okay, so, and just keep in mind, everybody, this is just for fun. You know, I could get a lot of these right. I could get a lot of these wrong because there's only so much that analysis will give you. And it's going to become harder and harder as the rest of the world catches up to predict World Cups. And this has been by far the hardest World Cup I've ever had to predict. So, you know, if I don't pick your country to go through, don't take it personally. Or if I don't pick your a team you think will go through, don't take it personally. It's just for fun, guys, you know? I mix analysis with gut feeling, and sometimes gut feeling can be very deceiving. Okay, so let's jump right in. So Group A, Russia, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Uruguay. Well, there's a clear favorite. I think we all expect Uruguay to go through. And if you're picking really an upset in this World Cup, that would be very much unexpected. If you wanted to put money on something, I don't believe in betting, but I guess you would put with Uruguay to go out in the group stages if you're feeling very daring. Because it almost feels like this group is too good to be true for Uruguay. Sorry, I'm like in a dusty area. There's a lot of pollen in trees. My allergies. However, I don't think this group is strong enough to prevent Uruguay from finishing in a top 2 position. A group in which they should have 9 points. I don't think they're going to get 9 points. I'm not going to give predictions for each specific match. That's not going to happen. That's too specific. It's too hard. I might do that on my own time privately, but Uruguay should come out of this group, and Uruguay, look, you're going to see my predictions later on in this tournament. This Uruguay team looked very good. I'm getting vibes of another team in 2006. I'll get to that later. But this Uruguayan team finished second in South America. They have sorted their midfield problems out. They got a good blend of youth and experience. The back line is solid. Cavani's the best season, the best form of his life. Suarez always shows up for Uruguay in major tournaments. In good and bad ways. I think Uruguay will top this group. They will not win every game, though, but I think Uruguay will top this group. Second is a race between Russia and Egypt, and yes, even Saudi Arabia, because Saudi Arabia have been improving in the last few friendlies. They should have equalized with Germany. They put in a respectable performance against Greece and Algeria, whom they beat. I think Saudi Arabia could surprise. And that leads me, as you see the title of this video, to my first bold prediction. And that is Russia will not beat Saudi Arabia in the opening match. I think Saudi Arabia is going to get a result. Will they beat Russia? I'm not prepared to say that they will upset the host nation in the opening match, but I think it's going to be a draw. Saudi Arabia will tie Russia in the opening match 1-1. So who's going to come in second? Egypt with the injury with Mohamed Salah. He's going to miss the Uruguay game. It's better for him to miss that game than it is for him to miss, the game against Russia and Saudi Arabia. I'd rather him miss against the best team than the teams that you absolutely need to pick up points against. But our very ultra-defensive, borderline anti-football style of play under Hector Cooper, I don't think it'll be enough, especially when Salah is not fit. So I don't think Egypt will come out of this group. Whether we finish in third or fourth, no idea. I pray to God we don't finish in fourth. But regardless, I don't think we're going to advance. I do think on the final match day, Russia will just about do enough to get through. So I'm picking Uruguay to win the group and host nation Russia to come in second. Group B is so hard. I'm going to have to come back to this later. But Portugal, Spain, Morocco, Iran. I would have picked Spain to win the group, but then we heard the news just earlier today about the whole manager situation, and that can either make or break a team heading into a major tournament. I said that Spain are still Spain. This is a very world-class team. But this is not good. The day before a World Cup to have this drama, especially the fact that Lopetegui disrespected the Spanish FA and the national team by going behind their back and not doing this. We don't know really very much about Fernando Hierro. I'm not writing them off. I'm going to get back to that. So like I said, guys, process of elimination. Some of these decisions are going to be made as I go along. Portugal, the European champions. You know what's interesting is every single European champion has failed to advance past the group stages of the World Cup, with the exception of Spain in 2010 when they won it. But France in 2000, Greece in 2004, Spain in 2012, but they won Euro 2008 as we know. Is Portugal going to suffer the same fate? Well, they need to do better than their Euro 2016 run, because 3 draws is not going to be enough to come through this group, most likely. Have they improved under Fernando Santos? I believe they have, but this is a tough group because they're coming up against Spain and also a dark horse team in Morocco. Very good, very well managed Moroccan team. Hervé Renard is one of my favorite managers heading into this tournament. They're undefeated. Maybe not winning the bid to host 2026 will inspire these players to go out and prove that they belong on the world stage. The team that I am writing off, unfortunately, is the best team in Asia, and that's Iran. And I'm only doing that because I just feel like if Iran got an easier group, I would I would give them more of a chance. I mean, there's always a chance. There's always a chance in world football, but I just think it's too strong for Iran. I think it's too strong. They're the best team in Asia. Their goal was to qualify for a consecutive World Cup. They did that. Look out for Sardar Azmoun. I think he's going to be a great talent, young talent, but it's too much to ask for, I think. But you know what? Iran always puts in a respectable performance in World Cups. They always do. They always grab at least 1 point. And I think they're going to do that here. I don't think that point is going to come against Morocco, however. I think it's going to come against Portugal. So I don't think Iran will go through this group. I'm going to cross out Iran. Portugal, Spain, Morocco. 2 of those teams will go through in either order. I'll get back to that in a moment. Group C. France, Australia, Peru, and Denmark. France look a little bit vulnerable this year because friendly results against the United States, the come-from-behind loss to Colombia in March, qualifying being held to a 0-0 draw against Luxembourg, 1-0 narrow victory over Belarus, goalkeeping gas versus Sweden. They have the look of a team that, despite all of their attacking prowess up front, they're easily stifled against teams that set up against them very defensively. There are teams like Spain, where that is a suicidal tactic and they will break you down. But then there's ones where it's very effective against, and that's France. And it doesn't help that they're coming up against a very gritty Australian team, and they're coming up against 2 teams in this group that are undefeated in the last 14 or so matches, each, I think, Peru and Denmark. A very informed Peruvian team, a relatively very informed Danish team. Could France could they fall susceptible to the every other year curse again? I think they could. But hold on. There's one team that I feel more confident in advancing from this group, and it's not France. It's Peru. Ricardo Gareca is my favorite manager. Hervé Renard, I said Morocco, my second favorite. This Peruvian team, even without Paulo Guerrero, looked really solid. And I think that they're going to carry this form in. They're carrying that inspiration coming back after 36 years. I think they're going to go far in this tournament. Peru is one of my 2 dark horses for this tournament. So I think Peru will go through. I don't know what order, but I'm going to circle them for now. Moving on to the next group. Argentina, Iceland, Croatia, and Nigeria. I thought to myself, this whole time, ever since the draw came out, I haven't picked Argentina to come through this group. And then part of me thinks, are they really going to crash out in the group stages? Because think about this. They win their group. They come up against Denmark, Peru, Australia in the round of 16. They get through that. They come up against Spain in the quarterfinals, the team that beat them 6-1. Are they really going to get embarrassed by Spain again 6-1? Especially with Messi. So they get through that. They play Germany. Are they really going to lose to Germany for a 4th consecutive World Cup in a row? They get through that. They get to the final. Are they going to lose a 4th final in a row? All I'm saying is, if Argentina advances from Group D, if they win their group, I think they might just go all the way. So am I really picking them to not advance? Am I really not going with Argentina? to advance. Honestly, yeah, I am. Consider that the first flop of my predictions. I'm maintaining it. I don't think Argentina is going to go through. I'm standing by that prediction. I don't think they're going to go through, and I have them finishing bottom of their group. I'm sticking with it. So you have Iceland, Croatia, and Nigeria. The best team remaining here is Croatia. The thing is, Balkan nations really underwhelm in major international tournaments. I don't know why. They don't go nearly as far as they should. You haven't had a Balkan country advance past the group stages of a World Cup since 1998. That is insulting. That's insulting. Considering the amount of talent that they produce, probably the best players to come out of Eastern Europe come from Serbia, come from Croatia, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Slovenia. You know what I'm saying? But they do have the benefit of having played Iceland in qualifying. Same group now as Iceland, but that works both ways. And Iceland, they did not look too good coming into this tournament with friendlies, but that was the same story with Euro 2016. Did not do too well with their friendlies right before the tournament. They came to the tournament. They took everyone by surprise. And then Nigeria, the strongest team in African qualifying. For my money, on their best day, Nigeria is the best team in Africa. And I know Dominic Rich chose Nigeria to get to the semifinals this year. An African semifinalist. You know what, Dom? I would love to see that. I'd love to see it. And I agree with your enthusiasm on Nigeria. I just don't think they're going to get to the semis. But I think they're going to win this group. I'm with you on them advancing. I have Nigeria finishing top of this group. Yes, the Super Eagles are going to soar. And for the first time since 1998, an African team will win their World Cup group. And that team also 20 years ago was Nigeria. This is a bold, risky prediction. Consider that another bold, risky prediction. But I like the form Nigeria are in. Qualified comfortably in a really rigorous group. They're entering the tournament for the first time scandal-free. No issues between players and payment disputes. I've got Nigeria as my surprise group winners. Yeah. I think they're going to win the group. And how about this? Let the boldness continue, because there's going to be two quasi-surprises in this group. I say quasi because I don't consider Nigeria going through a surprise at all. I don't think Croatia goes through. I'm picking Iceland to continue their run. I'm picking Nigeria and Iceland to come through this group. Yes, I am. Yes, sir. No apologies whatsoever. The two teams that are expected to come through this group, Argentina and Croatia, they were in the same group together. Again, more parallels to 1998. I don't think they're coming out of this group. I can see Croatia coming out. I can see Croatia winning this group. But I don't, I just got a feeling. I just got a feeling they won't do it. And I just think that Iceland, their story's not over yet. I think they're going to come through this group. I think they will. Nigeria and Iceland go through. How about that? Now the next two groups, groups E and F, I'm just going to tell you, oh, my pen went flying. The two teams, got my pen back. The two teams that should win these groups are Brazil and Germany. But what if one of them slips up and we get a Brazil-Germany round of 16? I mean, my goodness. But groups E and F were actually very, very difficult to narrow down who I believe will come in second for both of them. Because you have to think Brazil and Germany are overwhelming favorites in groups E and F. And it's a battle for second, especially in Group E. So, just to say first, straightforward, I have Brazil winning Group E. Bold prediction regarding Brazil, though, in just a few minutes. And then it's between Switzerland, Costa Rica, and Serbia. Flip a coin. Switzerland individually are the best team in this group, behind Brazil. Their performance in qualifying worries me, particularly the playoff against Northern Ireland. They might not have come through that if not for the dodgy refereeing call. Struggle to score goals, very narrow victories against Andorra, Latvia, the Faroe Islands. I just think if they come up against a team that is more tactically disciplined, like Costa Rica, they're going to struggle. And I actually think a team like Costa Rica, who I don't think very highly of, but still, I don't think it's a good match for Switzerland. Maybe you consider this a surprise. Not only do I not have Switzerland advancing, I have them finishing bottom of this group. I think Switzerland is going to have a poor World Cup. For some reason, I just feel like it's not a good group for them to draw. I think they're going to struggle to score goals. I do. I do. So I have Switzerland actually finishing bottom of this group. And between Costa Rica and Serbia, I'm going to get back to that. Moving along to Group F. Germany, Mexico, Sweden, South Korea. Germany have looked kind of weird in recent friendlies. They lost to Austria. They shouldn't have beaten Saudi Arabia. I don't know. I don't know if Germany has what it takes to go all the way this year. Having said that, Germans are still Germans. It's hard to see them doing a France 2002 or an Italy 2010 or a Spain 2014. It's really hard to see Germany doing that. And if any one of those teams can go on to win the World Cup again, it's Germany. I don't even have to go into them, talk about Germany, because this squad speaks for itself. Germany is very much a tournament team. So Germany will win this group. I don't think they're going to get the full 9 points. Here's another bold prediction. Mexico is going to hold them to a draw in that opening game. I think Mexico will have learned a lot from their clash with Germany last year in the Confederations Cup, just as they learned in the Confederations Cup against Brazil, where the following year they went on to get a result against Brazil in Brazil. And even if Mexico loses, I don't think it's going to be so emphatically like a 4-1 or greater like it was last year at the Confederations Cup. No, I'm going with a bold prediction. I got Mexico getting a draw against Germany. What worries me about Mexico more is their game against Sweden than I'm worried about their game against Germany, believe it or not. Because Mexico is a team that tends to play down to the level of their opponent. And when they play against bigger teams, they rise to the occasion, and they either get a result or they go out in a blaze of glory. Sweden have the better manager, and I don't trust Mexico's Juan Carlos Osorio. I don't trust him. But I trust Jan Anderson. Results against France and the Netherlands in qualifying, defeating Italy, preventing Italy from qualifying for the World Cup for the first time in 60 years since 1958. Don't sleep on South Korea. South Korea, they're in every other World Cup type of Asian team, just like Japan are. I'll get to Japan in a moment. But South Korea, I'm not writing them off. I think they can do something because I said this on Twitter. Individually speaking, Kim Shin-wook, Son Heung-min, I think they've got more stars on this team than Sweden does. I don't see anything special about Sweden. Emil Forsberg, Marcus Berg, Guidetti, Granqvist, but it's not a very star-studded Swedish team. It's that you're used to seeing with Swedish teams that go to World Cups. Sweden is better than South Korea as a unit. I think they're going to line up pragmatically, but if their friendlies suggested anything, they're not going to score very many goals, kind of like Switzerland, as I mentioned, like the Swiss. They haven't won a single friendly, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. Or you know what? I think they did win one. But if they don't get the full 3 points against South Korea in their first match, their chances of advancing dip dramatically. Dramatically. Especially if they go into the final match day with 1 point after having lost to Germany, and Mexico has 4 points from a win against South Korea and an unexpected draw against Germany. But here's the thing about South Korea. Ever since 2002, South Korea's best game in a World Cup has been their opening game. They won their opener in 2002. I believe it was against Poland. They beat Togo in 2006. They beat Greece in 2010. They got a draw with Russia in 2014. And then from there they dip on and then they fade into obscurity. Sweden very much has a size advantage and a set-piece aerial position advantage over South Korea. But I just think that South Korea is going to get a result in that game against Sweden. I just think they will. I think it's going to be a draw. And then from there on, I think Mexico will be too strong for South Korea. So Mexico heading into that last match with 4 points. I think Sweden are going to get a draw with... See, this is hard. This is really hard. But I got Germany winning the group. I think South Korea will finish bottom, but they will put in a better performance than in 2014. And it's going to be part of a big theme with Asian countries in this World Cup. I don't think we're going to see very many Asian teams advance, but even if no Asian team advances for the second time in a row, I do think Asia collectively will have a better World Cup than 2014. So what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is I don't think every single Asian team is going to finish bottom of their group. Nah, not happening. You got 5 Asian teams this time in the World Cup. There's a reason why there's 5 there and only 3 CONCACAF teams instead of 4 each like we had 4 years ago. I think Asia has gotten better. So they will do better. You're not going to see every single Asian team finish last in their group. I don't think so. South Korea, in this case, I think they'll finish bottom of this group, but they're going to put in a good effort. So between second and third, it's going to be Mexico and Sweden. I'll get back to that. Moving along to Group G. So Belgium, Panama, Tunisia, and England. Okay, letting it out there, Panama will finish bottom of this group. Panama should finish bottom of this group. Panama should finish with 0 points. I don't see this being another Costa Rica type of situation. I just don't see it. They're just happy to be here. And they're one of the oldest squads heading to this tournament. And they're coming up against Belgium, Belgium, Tunisia, and England. They should be outmatched in all 3 games, including, yes, against Tunisia. I think Panama will finish with 0 points. I think they're going to be the only team in this World Cup to finish with 0 points. God willing, Egypt doesn't either. So I am going to write off Panama. Now, Panama is part of a main specific prediction that I have. Not a bold prediction, but a specific prediction. And that is, they will be part of the highest scoring game in the World Cup. Because I have Belgium beating Panama 7-0. Yeah. You know what? I'm going to say Belgium will beat Panama. Yeah, I'm going to say 7-0. And I think it's going to be the highest scoring game of the World Cup. Because I think this is the biggest mismatch of any team, any two teams playing each other in the World Cup. I think it's going to happen. Belgium is going to blaze through Panama in that Group G opener. And then the most important game in this group, in my opinion, is Tunisia-England. They were in the same group in 1998. Tunisia, the same group as Belgium in 2002. Tunisia has never advanced past the group stage of a World Cup. But the interesting thing about Tunisia is they have been defensively solid. And up until their 1-0 loss to Spain just a couple of days ago, they hadn't lost a single match in over a year. The thing that worries me about Tunisia is they have a few injury concerns. Youssef Msakni is not there. Wabi Khazri took a knocking a few weeks ago, but I think he'll be there. So they're going to need the rest of the players in midfield to step up. They're going to need the defense to put on a good display. Ferjani Sassi needs to have a good tournament. Fakhreddine Ben Youssef needs to have a good tournament. But Tunisia are in a really interesting situation because they're in a group where they are head and shoulders better than the weakest team, which is Panama. And look, if Tunisia gets 3 points and they manage to just get a draw against one of England or Belgium, they're in the conversation for a top 2 finish. Because 4 points is what I refer to as limbo. When you're in 4 points, 1-1-1, 1 win, 1 tie, 1 loss, that can either be enough to send you through, or it might not be enough. So, for my money, Tunisia should beat Panama. And it's absolutely exquisite and it's great for them that they close out against Panama in their last game. So if they enter that match with a point and they beat Panama, and then maybe Belgium beats England, England beats Belgium, Tunisia slips into second spot, potentially, right? I said it before, I'll say it again. The order in which you play your games in is very important. And I feel like Tunisia, they've had some violence at the domestic level. 2 rival clubs, Esperance de Tunis and Esperance du Sahel, Etoile du Sahel, they have some fighting in between fans of each club. It's led to injuries and a few deaths as well. Maybe the national team can be a point of unity for Tunisia this summer at the World Cup. Maybe it can be a point of unity for them. And they're in a doable group. Honestly, they are not as good as Morocco, but they're in an easier group than Morocco, in my opinion, because Spain and Portugal, just slightly above Belgium and England. England being the weak factor there. But I say weak is in quotation marks. But they can get a draw against England. Why not? So this group is difficult. Because guess what? I don't think Belgium is safe either. Because once they give a beat down to Panama in that opening match of Group G, I don't think they're necessarily safe, because what if they're the ones that drop points to Tunisia? It's possible. Look what Algeria did in 2014. Belgium had to come from behind and beat them 2-1. Belgium won all of their games in the last World Cup by 1-goal margins. Belgium did not do as well as they should have in Euro 2016. They lost out in the quarterfinals to Wales 3-1 when they had a beautiful path to the semifinals. So in the last 2 major tournaments, Belgium have not lived up to the hype. They're a group of very scary, talented individuals, and I think Roberto Martinez is a better manager than Mark Wilmots, but when you compare him to Mark Wilmots, that's not really saying much. Most people are going to be better than Mark Wilmots, you know? So, and you look at their qualification group, they were held to a draw at home against Greece, a team that lined up very pragmatically against them. They almost lost to Greece on the road. in Athens. So they come up against a team in Tunisia who I think is better than Greece. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know who's going to come through this group right now. I'm going to get back to it later in the video, but I think Tunisia will get a result against one of Belgium or England, in addition to getting a win over Panama. And if they had Yusuf Masakni, I think I would feel even more comfortable going with that. So moving on to Group H. All right, so we move on to Group H. Poland, Senegal, Colombia, and Japan. This might be controversial, but I'm writing off Senegal. I don't buy into the hype, and I'll explain why. The 2017 African Cup of Nations, in my opinion, put on display the relative inexperience and youth of this team, because Senegal were the favorites. They were the best team in the group stage of the AFCON 2017. They should have won that tournament. The most star-studded team in that tournament, Sadio Mane, Koulibaly, Keita Balde, led by Aliou Cisse, the manager of the 2002 side. But they went out in the quarterfinals against Cameroon on penalties. Yes, Cameroon were the eventual champions of Africa, but Senegal completely outplayed them over the course of 120 minutes. And I look at Senegal's results in their friendlies in the build-up to this tournament. Draws with Uzbekistan, draws with Luxembourg, draw with Bosnia-Herzegovina, a come-from-behind defeat to Croatia. And I think this team's... Okay, so like, let me explain. For Senegal, I feel like this is one tournament. I think it's one tournament too soon for them. And it's because of their form entering this tournament that I just think they're going to come up short. It's a doable group compared to what they could have had, but I just think they're going to be found out. And their performance in the AFCON 2017, I don't think they really have improved from that. I don't think that they've covered for the same mistakes from that tournament. And the results against teams of much, much lesser quality in the last couple of international breaks really has me on edge, skeptical of them. I don't think it's going to be 2002 for Senegal. I actually have Senegal finishing bottom of this group. Yeah. So Poland, Colombia, and Japan. Let me say this. The bulk of Colombia's midfield creativity is centered around James Rodriguez. I saw an absolutely insane statistic that was something like most of the goals that came from the midfield in Colombia during qualifying, like 70+% came from James. So that tells me that Colombia is not as good as they were back in Brazil 2014. I still think they have the most depth of any team in this group. And I think with Falcao back, we know the last couple of seasons he's been having with Monaco, especially the 2016-2017 season. They were missing him in the 2014 World Cup. I think he's going to be a valuable asset up front to provide that support with James. So I think Colombia will come through this group. Whether or not they finish in first or second, I'm not sure, because this is a World Cup held on European soil. They topped it last time when it was in Brazil. I think they're the best team in this group still. I think they're the best team in this group. So you know what? I'm going to go with Colombia to win this group. And because of the group they're in, because of the side of the bracket they're in, this is the sister group to their group in 2014, because they have a West African country in their group, an Eastern European team in their group, and Japan. Again, Japan, for the second time in a row. I still think Colombia will win this group. I think they're the best team, and they will probably go on another run to the quarterfinals. So in second in this group, believe it or not, I'm between Poland and Japan. I'm going to get back to that. So, going back to Group A. So this is how I have the group so far in the live standings, I guess you can call it. I have Uruguay and Russia going through in Group A in that order. For Group B, no clue yet. For Group C, I have Peru going through, but I don't know what order. Group D, I have Nigeria winning it and Iceland coming through in second. Yes. Groups E and F, I have Brazil and Germany topping it, but I have second and third between Costa Rica and Serbia in Group E, and between Mexico and Sweden in Group F. Group G, three-way battle between Belgium, England, and Tunisia, just like for Group B. And in Group H, I have Colombia winning the group, Senegal out, and a battle for second between Poland and Japan. So let's go through this again. Let's do another process by elimination. I'm gonna skip Group B again because that's tough. But I'm gonna go ahead and say this. In regards to Groups B and G, at least, this is another bold prediction, at least one North African country will advance past the group stage. At least one of Morocco or Tunisia will go through. Not at most, at least one. Yep, will go through. So Group C, Australia, aka USA Spirit Team. I don't think Australia, Aussies, I don't think you're going to go through. I think you're going to do better than you did in 2014. You're not going to finish with 0 points. And for my money, I don't have you finishing bottom. Yeah, I don't have you finishing bottom. But I don't think you'll go through. Despite all of their troubles, and despite the every other year curse, I think France will still win this group. Yeah. I can't go against France. I can't do it. France should win this group. They should win this group. This generation of players is not having any scandal heading into the World Cup. They should go through. And that sets them up for a rematch against Iceland. So, there you have it. Another group down. France will go through, and I have Peru in second. Moving along, Costa Rica and Serbia for second place in Group E. You know, I've been going back and forth between Costa Rica and Serbia for a long-ass time. And while I don't think this Costa Rica team has it to do what they did in 2014, I just don't trust Serbia. I don't trust them, man. I still think this Costa Rica team has that fight. I don't know how to say it, but if they don't come through this group, people are going to say 2014 was like a fluke. They're going to say it was a spell of good form, it was luck, it was this, it was that. And this is a World Cup in Eastern Europe, so Serbia played Brazil last, but it's really hard. And what's interesting is that this is the third time Costa Rica will have Brazil in their group. The other times coming in 1990 and in 2002. They advanced in 1990. They did not advance in 2002. And in that 1990 group, they had two European countries, I think Sweden and Scotland. And Oscar Ramirez, the current manager of Costa Rica, was part of that Costa Rica team. So that's interesting. It's funny how history just likes to overlap. But anyway, I still stand by what I said. I don't think Switzerland matches up well with Costa Rica. That's why I eliminated Switzerland. And with Serbia, man, that's just like, that's hard. Costa Rica is a tournament type of team, in my opinion. And I just think that when you look at Serbia's track record, you can't really put your faith behind them. You know? And I could see another 2010 type of scenario where they pull off a shock result in their group that they don't get through the group. And that leads me to another bold prediction. Serbia, this is a bold prediction. It's wacky, but guys, it's just for fun. Serbia will beat Brazil in their final group game because Brazil will have already wrapped up a spot in the round of 16 with 6 points, and that will put Serbia on 4 points, and they will be equal with Costa Rica on points on the final match day, but it's going to come down to goal difference between Costa Rica and Serbia. And who I think is going to go through, I still stand by that crazy prediction. Serbia will upset Brazil on the final match day and beat them 2-1. Yes. Yes. This is the World Cup. But who's going to go through this group? I don't give a damn this World Cup is on European soil. I trust Costa Rica more than I do Serbia. I trust Costa Rica.